On. Welcome to Let's Connect. It is Tuesday, March 8th, and it is International Women's Day. So, happy Women's Day to all our female listeners. Those of you listening to us on 88.5 Soufriere FM, those of you live on Facebook, welcome to Let's Connect. I want to offer everyone a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday evening. And we have a couple of announcements. We'll be joined a little later on, hopefully, with Sister Alvina Reynolds, the National Women's Officer, to deliver a International Women's Day message. But first, we ask for prayers and get well wishes for Mr. Linus Jr. Joseph, who is a taxi driver of New Development. And also, we ask the same for Mr. Hermangild Hippolyte, also of New Development. We regret to announce the passing of Miss Zella Prosper of L'Espérance for Jacques, also Charles George of Market Road, Mr. Columbus Rene, aka Soir of Etongs, Mr. Joseph George Degazon, aka Mr. Boy of Belfort, and Patrick Alcindor, aka Louis or Mr. Louis of Etongs. We extend our deepest condolences to their family and friends. We want to take a special moment to wish happy birthday to Ma Alphonse of Lower Victoria Street, who turns 98 years old today. Also, we want to wish happy 21st birthday to Camille Prosper, who is the daughter of my in-house guest this evening, Miss Teresa Prosper. Okay? We also regret to announce that there was a fire on Wednesday night at the Bully Yard in the back of the vendors market at the water's edge. 7 persons lost their belongings, including clothing, shoes, and furniture. We are asking that the public open their generous hearts and give towards those who have lost so much. Okay, so this evening I also will be featuring. Hopefully, we're trying to manage all our technical difficulties. For those of you who are witnessing our feed live on Facebook and YouTube, you can see that there's a bit of a purple tinge. I wish it was deliberate because the colors for Women's Day is purple and green. I wish it was deliberate, but we're having some equipment issues today. So hopefully we'll be able to get out some footage for you. We're going to be featuring a couple of female entrepreneurs from I Had Cakes 758 and Funhouse Decor and Events. So hopefully we'll be able to run those footages for you also. But we also have a message for Women's Day. I'm not sure if we're able to play. Yes, I think we're going to. Okay, so this first message is coming from Let's Connect and 88.5 for Women's Day.
That you are brave enough to take a chance on you. My mother was many things, and at one point she was a fisherwoman, and she named her fishing boat a pirogue. Chances are a widow raising 2 daughters with no. Today my hope is that you are brave enough to take a chance on you. My mother was many things, and at one point she was a fisherwoman, and she named her fishing boat a pirogue. Chances are a widow raising 2 daughters with no safety net. Chances are it could have all failed, and some of it did, but some of it didn't. Today, have the courage and the conviction to take a chance on you. Chances are you might land the catch of the day.
Courageous message for Women's Day. And in that note, I would like to welcome my guest this evening, Miss Teresa Prosper, also known as Big Mama, also known as Miss Buffer. She is the Women's Officer for Soufriere. So, Miss Buffer, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers on 88.5 Facebook Live?
Yeah, as everybody know, Teresa Prosper, better than as Buffer. Some people call me, my vending name is Big Mama. And I know everybody loved that name because I had the best barbecue ever. So that's where the name come from. I used to sell barbecue for over 7 years at the waterfall, at Turai Waterfall. So that's where I remember a taxi driver called Peter the Great. He'd introduce me as Big Mama's Barbecue. So that's where the name come from, the famous name. So people love it, and I go along with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your role as women's officer in Soufriere?
Well, basically, I represent the views of women in SLPWO, our women's group. So I represent the views, and I'm acting on their behalf as the point person for Soufriere. Yeah, where we try to build our women, our support group. Yeah, that's basically my role. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are some of the biggest issues facing women in Soufriere right now? Or what would you consider the issues facing women in Soufriere right now?
Well, I believe it's unemployment is the biggest issue facing our women. Um, Unemployment. Most women are single mothers. The support system is very weak. Also, a lot of emotional abuse facing our women. So I'm happy that we have a woman candidate, well, representative in Emma Hippolyte, our Honorable Emma Hippolyte, who can bring these issues of our ladies to Parliament. So I'm happy that we have Emma Hippolyte
Our district rep.
as our district rep.
Now, speaking of our district rep, today we had an interesting session of Parliament. Sister Emma was definitely decked out in her purple, supporting for International Women's Day. And also there was a bill tabled today and passed regarding domestic violence. What is your opinion of the domestic violence bill tabled at Parliament today?
This bill is a very good bill. Our women need to celebrate this bill actually, because a lot of our women has been abused, and somehow they have reached out to the authorities, but it seems like nothing much has been done. So I'm happy that our women will be protected by this bill.
Well, you did mention that our women have felt like they're not getting heard. Why do you think that is? Why is it that our women will not, because now we were expecting that there's going to be a change, but why was it that when a woman goes to report that a man is beating her or a man is abusing her, she usually gets the runaround from the police, or they tell her they can't do anything for her? Do you think it's like women are not seen as valuable in the eyes of the police or in the eyes of society? Or once they have a man, they just have to take whatever the man gives them?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe society has taught us like women is
On the lower.
on the lower end, so they wasn't taking women seriously at all. So now it will be different. I believe it will be different now.
Can you tell us some of your experiences as both a wife and a mother growing up in Soufriere, raising your children in Soufriere, having to hustle to make ends meet? Give us some of your story.
Okay. Well, it has been ups and downs for every woman who's a vendor or hustler. Yeah, because a mother, you have to be strong. First of all, you have to know God. You have to have prayers. If you do not have your base, which is prayer, you won't make it. So your base have to be prayer. And because you have to deal with all sorts of things, all kind of emotions with your children, you know, and the men are not, how will I say it? Some men, not all of them, they do not really take the role as a father. So you as a mother, you have to take the role of a father on a mother, especially the emotional part. So I believe I had to do all of these things for my children. But again, I advise women, the base, it have to be prayer. You have to put God first in everything you do. You anoint your children. You make sure you anoint them. You make sure you place them in the hands of God, because if it's not that, the children are just going to take the ways you don't want them to take. You understand? Mine is not perfect. My children are not perfect, but I know I've never been at a police station for my son who's 27 years old. You understand? And I believe I did a good job raising them. I don't know, they might say otherwise, but I believe I did a good job in raising them. And I instill in them prayer. Everything is prayer. Put God first in everything you do. And I'm seeing they're doing that. Sometimes I just be so surprised when I wake up and I see they kneeling and they. So I said, at least I do something good, because I know without prayer and without God, you nowhere in life. I could guarantee somebody that.
Amen.
Yeah.
I know there's a famous saying, it takes a village to raise a child. What was the support system that you had? Did you have maybe your parents or godparents, aunties, uncles of your children that helped you in their development?
Yes, I had some family. My mother is my rock. My mother is my rock, definitely. She was out of St. Lucia, but she used to give me advice. She used to tell me, so she was my rock. And we had my in-laws, my sister-in-law used to raise the children with me when they were younger too. And yeah, we had family support. I had family support. Yeah.
So you say that prayer is prayer, the foundation has to be faith.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you can say helped you to remain strong in the face of any sort of adversity you had to experience, in terms of not just raising your children, but hustling, having to make ends meet? In the video we watched earlier, the young lady spoke about her mother having a fishing boat, and some days it was good, some days it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
So in the bad days, because you hustling, there have to be bad days as well. How did you get through the hard days?
Bad days, you just take it how it comes. Today you make $300-$400. Tomorrow you don't make nothing. You just have to. That's hustling. That's vending. So you just have to get used to it. You understand? And you just have to know how to multiply the little you make. You just don't go and blast it. You understand? You have to know how to multiply it, and that's the problem I think with a lot of young ladies today, young women today. I don't think they're balancing. To me, I've seen a lot of gambling around. Like, you make money and just gambling, and
like they don't treasure the money, or not treasure. I don't want to say treasure, but they don't secure the money for a wet day.
Yes. You have to know how to balance, because when you have children, today you're there, tomorrow they're at hospital, they're sick, they have a fever. You must know where to go and get the money to take them to the doctor. You understand? It's not every day you can have to go and ask somebody to lend, or you have to use your mind as a woman all the time. Right. Yeah.
I heard someone say, I'm trying to remember exactly how she said it, but there's this philosophy that when you make $100, you buy 5 pounds sugar, 5 pounds flour, 5 pounds rice, and you set for a certain amount of time. Was there any sort of way you had it in your mind, like, I buy a case of chicken back, or I buy salt and I buy meat and I salt it? Did you have a system, something that that you always had a backup plan?
I always have a backup plan. I don't know for other persons, but I always have a backup plan. They always say women always have somewhere in their purse where you always have a backup. You just don't spend everything you have. You have to hide something. You have to put something there, because the things don't last. Groceries don't last. You have to feed the children. So you must always have a backup plan somewhere. Yeah.
So what is your advice to young women in Soufriere? What can you tell them? What would you say to them? What would you say to your daughter? Mm-hmm. How would you advise them? How would you guide them into the future, the unexpected future that we have coming towards us? We don't know what to expect. What kind of advice, general advice, that you would give?
Okay, I would say, as I tell you, be grounded in your faith, in prayer. I would say all of those. Be strong. You understand? There's things people can do. You don't have to depend on government alone. You don't have, sell sweet, sell icicle, sell cake, do something. You understand? I admire a hustler because once you a hustler or a vendor, as I could say, you always have you always have something. You understand? You don't have to depend on people too much. And I've done it over 25 years or so. You don't have to depend too much on persons when you I have sell barbecue, I have sell for tourists, that's what I'm in. I've even fish. My husband is a fisherman. I used to actually go and sell the fish.
Yeah, I used to go and sell by the market.
Yeah, you don't take. There's nothing like pride in when you're hustling. You do what you have to do for you to survive, especially when you have kids going to school.
Exactly.
You do what you have to do to survive. So I'm advising our young women out there, do what you have to do. You don't have to lower-rate yourself. You understand? You don't have to put yourself down. But go and sell sweets or go and sell cake. That is not a crime. It is not a crime.
Not stealing.
You're not. That's an honest living. You understand? So I'll advise: don't depend. Just get something to do. Yeah, that's my advice.
We have a lot of young ladies in Soufriere currently that are unemployed, have one, two, multiple children, and they're looking for some sort of way out, some sort of way up, something. They need something. They need some strand of hope to grasp onto. We know not everybody is faith based, so we cannot suggest to everybody, go to church and pray. We tell them hustle, but there are persons who maybe they cannot leave the young child alone, or they don't have any startup finances. What can we recommend? Let's say, for example, a young lady, she has a infant. She cannot leave the infant to go out into the street to hustle. What do you recommend for her? If she has no job prospects, maybe she's not very educated.
Well, if you have family support, you could always leave the family and go out to do something, look for a job. There's always a family. There's always a friend. I know us in Soufriere. I know our people. We are not that wicked or bad to say if somebody wants to go and look for a job, you don't hold a child for the person to go. And then when the person is in the job, then the person can pay a babysitter or pay a daycare. You understand? But you have to move.
We have a lot of prideful people too. Prideful. They don't want to ask for help. They don't want to rely on anybody for assistance. And they're just wasting away in the life that they're currently living.
You cannot waste away. You cannot.
I feel for them, and I feel like maybe there's a certain degree of depression associated with it.
It can be too.
They're suffering with depression to the point that they cannot get up. The depression is wearing them down and they cannot move. Do you know of any counseling services they can go to?
Yeah, there's help. Actually, Father Setut is a good counselor. Somebody could go there, talk to Father Setut. I'm certain Father Setut would give them good advice. I know I've been in counseling with Father Setut and he's good actually. Yeah.
Okay. We will be joined by Sister Alvina closer to 6 p.m. She has sent in a message. Let me check with our tech. Are we capable of playing any of the entrepreneurs' videos? Yeah, you can go ahead with that one. Let me just so we have the first entrepreneur that we're going to be featuring. This is a young female. She runs a business called Funhouse Decor and Events.
Baby, my Valentine. Can I hit the Mickey with the temperature? If you leave me a good time, I swear. You are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest. I'm loving the thought of me. I am so obsessed. I want to chop your heart. Never need a back in the street.
remember it. So we want to give a big shout out to Jacinta Albert of Funhouse Decor and Events, and we hope that our listeners will give her as much support as possible. So if you have any events coming up, you can check her out. She is on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Funhouse Decor and Events. So you can check her out. Look at like I said, we just featured some of her DJ. Could you please play the video again so that persons can see once more some of the things she's capable of producing? So give
Yeah, baby, my Valentine. Can I
a big shout out, and hopefully we'll see more great things coming out for her. So Funhouse Decor and Events, you can check her out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Okay, the video playing also has the name of her TikTok page on it, so you can check that out. Those of you who are able to see our Facebook Live and YouTube Live, you can check her out. So once again, Funhouse Decor and Events run by Jacinta Albert. Okay. What do you think of this Miss Wolf? I know you had such a wonderful it was your 50th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had such a wonderful gold and black theme decor. So maybe for your next big birthday bash, you can consider backsplash from Miss Jacinta Albert.
That's true.
I really wanted her to do something for my birthday, but I was in isolation for my birthday.
50, my daughters did all the decoration. They're good at these things.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Camille, Nicole, they're good at.
That's one good thing about having daughters. That they're usually into this sort of thing. So yes. I hope Camille sends me a piece of cake. Camille, I'm expecting a slice of cake tomorrow from the birthday celebrations.
21.
21, grown woman now, officially an adult. All right. I'm not sure. Are we ready with the second video? Not yet. Okay. So, like I said, Sister Alvina Reynolds, who is the National Women's Officer, she will be joining us around 6 p.m. to deliver her International Women's Day address. And I want to give a shout out to persons in our chat room. Well, thanks for joining us, Miss Calixta Joseph. Good to have you in house. Antonia Herman, thanks for joining us. Michael Matlock, Classy Willow Prosper, thank you so very much for joining. Bernadette Nelson, Melanie Hippolyte, thank you. Thank you for always supporting Let's Connect. Becca Smith coming from Florida. I hope the weather in Florida is sunny as usual. Welcome to Margot from Maryland, USA. Thanks so very much for tuning in to Let's Connect this evening. It's a bit chilly in Soufriere, or maybe it's just me. I'm getting the chills in here. Anybody wants to give us some of their contributions towards what Women's Day is to them? What does Women's Day mean to you? Tell us some of your stories about your struggles as a woman and how you've overcome. I think the bill today was very monumental. There are too many women being battered, suffering in silence, emotional abuse, not just physical abuse, but emotional, mental strain. Depression is on the rise in the Caribbean in general, but in St. Lucia as well. But surprisingly, it's usually higher amongst the men, because our men suffer in silence as well when they're going through things. But we do have, historically, we have to consider that women are usually more the victims of domestic violence, women and children. So today's signing of the bill, I think something that as many St. Lucians as possible should definitely get their hands on a copy so that they can read it, see what it's about. And it really and truly was a historical day today, March 8th, 2022, International Women's Day, that the domestic violence bill was passed. And I'm hoping that those of you who came out to we had a mass this morning at Our Lady of the Assumption Catholic Church, 6:30 a.m. All of us were in our purple and green to show support for women. And also the color for showing your support for domestic violence is orange. So showing your support today in either color. We want to thank you. Green, yeah, green, white, and purple colors for International Women's Day. Orange color for domestic violence. So if you wore those colors today in support, we want to thank you for that. Miss Buffer is in her purple as women's
Yeah.
officer supporting us. Our live video ended, Ipal. Runners, what happened? Okay. I'm so sorry about that. So thanks for reconnecting with us on Let's Connect. I'm so sorry we got disconnected because apparently Facebook had issues with the song. We had some copyright infringement there because of the song that was in the video. So my apologies. Hopefully, I don't think the next video has any song, so it should not block us again. My apologies once again for those of you rejoining us. We got disconnected because of Facebook and the copyright regarding the song on our last video. So apologies for that. That's something we need to keep in mind for next time, that we might get blocked on Facebook temporarily if we have any background music in our videos. So at least it's a learning experience. I'm happy we learned it today so that we know that that's something we need to be careful with in our future videos. So when I'm portraying another entrepreneur, I need to remember that we cannot have any background music because Facebook will block us. So once again, so sorry for that. Apologies. I hope that nobody missed out too much. I asked a little earlier for persons to send in their women's stories, although I'm not connected back to the live as yet, so bear with me if you're sending any messages. But we are willing to share stories of strong women. We know we have several strong women in our society. We have right here in Soufriere, we have Honorable Emma Hippolyte. We have our female mayor, first female mayor, Mrs. Joan Hippolyte. We have Cesen Descat, who is since deceased, but she was a strong woman. We have our former Governor General Dame Paulette Louise. We have several wonderful teachers, too numerous to mention, past, present, and current, and future teachers who are coming up the way, wonderful women athletes. And it's always good to show support of them and support of all that they do for our community. Like we said earlier, it takes a whole village to raise a child, and it's usually the women doing that. So if it wasn't for women,
I know.
where would we be?
Don't forget Catherine Silly.
Oh yes, big shout out to Catherine
Silly.
I did write it that I wanted to give a shout out at the end of the show. I wanted to shout out Catherine Silly for her dedication to advocating on behalf of women in St. Lucia. She was one of the biggest supporters pushing for the bill today, and she must be so elated right now that it went through, and everybody showed the enormous support for it. Also, another big woman that we need to really show some respect to, Miss Lisa Jawari. She is a senator, and she is the communication director of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and as well as the Commonwealth Gender Champion. I don't know how it's possible to become a gender champion, but she did that. She's Commonwealth Gender Champion. So definitely have some strong women that we can look up to. And we have our own Nancy Nicholas, who is returned to Soufriere.
Oh, yes.
And she's one of those women I definitely look up to the most. Wonderful. Her vocabulary is always the first thing that impresses me. Okay, so I'm back on the live. So those of you sending in messages, once again, let me apologize that we got disconnected. Sorry about that. We had copyright issue with the video we played earlier. So Facebook gave us a boot. So sorry about that. So we're looking forward to seeing some messages for Women's Day. If you want to send out a shout out for a specific woman, now is the time while we wait for Sister Alvina Reynolds to join us to deliver her message on National Women's Day. Any persons in the chat who want to share a story of womanhood, any mothers who want to shout out their daughters who want to shout out their mothers. Miss Prosper, you have two wonderful daughters at home. Would you like to give them a shout out?
Yes. I like to take time to shout out to some of our strong women in Soufriere. First of all, my mother, Norma Ogis, Mary Norma Ogis. Yeah, that's my backbone. My mom, that's my backbone. My daughters, Nicole and Camille Prosper. Yeah, also my son. Yeah, I'd like to shout him out too. I'd like to shout at Miss Emma Hippolyte, very strong woman. I know. Mrs. Joan Hippolyte, our mayor. Also, Miss Glendia Charles from the
SRDF.
SRDF.
Yes, strong.
I believe Miss Glendia is a strong woman.
I agree.
And she's good. She's one of the best. Yes, I'd like to shout her out. Also, my spiritual mother, Mary Constantine. That's Miss Lena Constantine. I don't know if you know her.
I know Miss Lena, yes.
At Windsor, yes. I'd like to shout her out. And all our SLPWO women, big shout out to them.
Yes.
Yeah, and all our women in Soufriere, surrounding area, all over St. Lucia, a big shout out. And again, happy International Women's Day.
All right, so we have Sister Alvina Reynolds is ready to join us. Good evening, Sister Alvina. Happy International
Sisters. And happy International Women's Day to you, sisters, as well. Sorry, I'm moving and talking to you and moving at the same time. My apologies.
That's all right.
Right.
Thanks for joining us.
You are most welcome, and you two look beautiful. I had to join you.
Sister Alvina.
Yes. Hi. I'm decking in the colors. Join my sisters in the colors. Yes.
Rocking my favorite color today, purple all day long.
Yes. I'm just trying to settle myself in it. So, again, happy International Women's Day to you, sisters, and to all of your listeners to your program this evening.
Yeah, same to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was asking our viewers to send in a few shout outs to strong women that they know of. Let me just read out the few that we have right now, and then we'll go back to you, Sister Alvina, for your Women's Day message. Okay. So from Becca Smith, sending a big hello to her lovely niece, Beata Joseph. From Classy Willow Prosper, shout out to my mama, the strongest woman I know, Anne Prosper Maki. From Lisa Joseph, shout out to my grandmother, Lucy Joseph, my mom, Ika of Barron's Drive, and also my aunt Maria Joseph, better known as Fela of Brooklyn, coming from Lisa Joseph. Okay, so shout out to all our wonderful women in our lives. Shout out to Barron's Drive. I just realized I didn't do my community shout out at the beginning of the show. So shout out to all the communities in Soufriere, all the women of Soufriere. And we have with us our National Women's Officer, also Senator, Sister Alvina Reynolds, who has an author. I always forget to mention she has written a book. Can you remind us of the title of your book, Sister Alvina?
Oh, it's called Step Forward with Faith.
Right, there you go. So if you get a chance to get a copy of that book, it's a wonderful read. So over to you, Sister Alvina.
Yes, good evening again, sisters. And before I deliver my brief message to you, sisters, I wanted to share with you an experience I had with during the month of January. My nephew, whom I call my son, was here to celebrate his birthday, and we were heading to Tet Paul for a day of exploring and climbing. And my niece, who was in the vehicle with me, somehow logged onto campaign songs, and they thought they're both in the early 30s, and they thought that Sister Emma's campaign song was the best for them. And imagine, this boy was overseas, not on the ground for campaigning at all. And while we're driving through, I think it's Barron's Drive, they started playing this song, and this young man could call out all the names of the community, and I was impressed. And he's like, Auntie Emma, Barron's Drive, and the two young people just turned to my sister and I, who were on the ground for politics, and we had not picked up the song, and they said that was their song for the campaign. So big up to you in Soufriere. all your communities for this wonderful song that probably you probably will not know um, made waves among young people both in St. Lucia in Soufriere and overseas.
Ah, I
So
love.
well done. Well done, Soufriere. I was very impressed and wanted to share that with you all. You have such talent in your constituency
Yes,
and
that's
all the great work that you've been doing. And so,
mhm.
yes, my dear sisters, I wanted to shout out all the women of Soufriere, the women of St. Lucia, who have contributed in one way or another towards the development of families, communities, and St. Lucia as a whole and the world. I want to congratulate the many women of Soufriere who have stood out in the various areas, whether it be agriculture, business, education, healthcare, fishing industry, whatever your areas. And this morning I recalled um, Honorable Bradley referring to your MP as a very strong woman and in the house. And Sister Emma comes from a family where she said her mother has been known to be a strong woman who she kind of emulates in business and other areas. So I want to congratulate you and I want to congratulate you for the work that you will continue to do with the young women of Soufriere for Saint Jacques. I know you have fantastic resources in Soufriere. You are well blessed. The most important resource you have in your constituency would be your people and your women drive forward. And I have seen the women of Soufriere in action. I was very impressed when I saw the way you worked to contribute to the unemployed women of Soufriere in the fundraiser you had on, it was on MBC. And that was not enough for you. You didn't just contribute to women in the families. You went for the unemployed men. You
Mhm.
showed the balance, you showed equality. You did not only look after the women of Soufriere, you went for the men of Soufriere. I want to commend you for that. I saw even during, as it was in the Christmas time and after, you delivered parcels of groceries to the elderly people of the Soufriere constituency. All the time, most of the time, I see women in the forefront of such positive and significant initiatives. And the theme being gender equality today for sustainable tomorrow. So if we do have that gender equality, we have that balance that I see happening in Soufriere, I am sure, I am convinced that Soufriere will continue to produce, Soufriere continue to be the food basket with the garden, with the food up in the heights, the women, the fishing industry, the tourism industry, you will continue to make St. Lucia proud. So my message to you today, women of Soufriere, women of St. Lucia, is to continue to press on. And when you see there are situations where this is going to hold you back, I say shout out and make a way. As we can see that bill that was just passed in the House of Assembly and must go through the Senate before going on to the Governor General. When you see things happen that affect other women, it's no longer drink water and mind my business. No. As sisters, we stand for each other. We stand with each other. We stand alongside each other. And we must make way for the younger ones. Us mature women, we have lessons to teach to the younger ones. Give them the opportunity, create the opportunity, because we are standing on the shoulders of stronger women of Soufriere. For example, Sister Emma's mom and other women of Soufriere who have done very well. So let us continue to open up the way for the young women of Soufriere, whether it be in technology, in creativity, in dance, in whatever art form. Let us make a way for them and support them, and of course, our young men to see a better St. Lucia for tomorrow. This is my message, and I say, as you celebrate, it's a whole month of March, not only today, the whole month of March,
Mhm.
as you celebrate, my sisters, teach. As you celebrate, my sisters, preach. As you celebrate, my sisters, pray. As you celebrate, my sisters, be vigilant. You see, the crime situation, we have a role to play in our men becoming more peaceful, our young boys staying focused, getting off the blocks and getting down to being industrious like our young women. Let us encourage them. Let us tell them what we expect from them. Let us not let our boys fall by the wayside, but let us be sure that equality for both men and women, boys and girls for a sustainable tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you so very much, Sister Alvina Reynolds, Senator,
Very good.
author, all around wonderful woman, always leading in faith as well. And we appreciate so much that you came out, you took some time out of your busy schedule to give us this wonderful message. I hope that it resonates with all our women in Soufriere and in the whole of St. Lucia. Thank you so very
Thank
much once
you.
again. Right. Okay. Ms. Buffer, what did you think of that wonderful message
Oh,
from Sister Alvina?
very on point. Very,
Yes,
very good.
yes. I really hope that it reaches all the women that it needs to reach. There's some
That's
people
right.
that need
Yeah.
to hear how great and how capable they are when they don't know it.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
she's very certain about something that I myself am very certain of. There is humongous talent in Soufriere.
There
It's
is. There is.
undeniable.
Yeah.
Everybody has some sort of talent. It's just a matter of figuring out what it is. It
Yes.
could be that you make the best milk punch in the island. Sell that milk punch, you'll make your money. It could be that CMOS is your thing. You know how to bring out the
Whatever.
best
You just
flavor.
try. You just try anything.
It could be. You
It
just
could
have to
be.
try and
Yes.
have the willingness to
Yes.
try and keep
Especially,
trying and don't stop trying.
especially for our young men too. And that
Yeah.
crime situation is not good at
Because
all in
our
Soufriere.
people are so
Yeah.
frustrated. They don't see an end in sight yet, but there's always an end. There's always an end to the struggle. They just have to keep going until you get there. Don't give up too soon. Don't do something that will risk your life. Don't do something that will end up putting you in jail by trying and do something. And I always remember the story of Donatan the legend. I had him on the show, and his story always was remarkable to me. He went from being in jail and being in gangs, and then he went to being such a hit on Facebook and in his comedy and in his poetry and in his music. I think that his story is one of the best stories I've heard of how you have a talent that you have not discovered, but once you discover it, is going to be your way forward. And I really hope that our young people, especially our young women, today being International Women's Day. We're celebrating women. We're celebrating the female form, the female gender, and also in this remarkable way that we passed this bill in Parliament. And like Sister Alvina said, it has to go through the Senate and has to go to Governor General. But we believe that there is enough support behind it that it will get there. It definitely will get there. So shout out to the strongest woman I know, my mom, Althea Leo of Barron Drive, coming from Princess Royal. We have shout out to my mother, Charlene Shallery, strongest woman I know. That's
That's
from
my sister.
CJ.
That's my
CJ
sister.
Ogis. CJ is your nephew.
My nephew, yeah. Strong woman.
Can I,
Is the
am I
serial-
allowed to leave, sisters?
Oh yes, Sister
Oh,
Alvina, I didn't
thank
realize you were still there. Sorry about that. I thought you had exited. My apologies. Thanks again for being on with us. I didn't even recognize the screen was still.
Right, and continue the celebration. God
Yes,
bless
thank you.
you.
The whole month, we're
Woman power.
celebrating. Of course.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We have shout out to my niece in Soufriere, Joanna Dusauzay, coming from Becca Smith. Okay. Yes. All right. So keep sending in your shout outs, ladies. We're shouting out all the strongest women you know. Please give us your story as well. We want some stories of your strong women. Let us know how the strongest woman affected your life. I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Mary Nelson, who is one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. Definitely had a big influence on me. She was a teacher to me in she was my stage 2 teacher, and then she later became my co-worker when I worked at the infant school. And I have seen Miss Mary do amazing things. I have seen her work with, the slower children, the learning disabled children, and to bring them to a place where they feel more confident in themselves. And I think that's a skill that is not something you can teach somebody. You cannot teach somebody how to do that. You have to have a true love and passion for what you're doing for you to be able to mold a child and work with a child one on one and bring them up like that. And I honestly feel like the teaching profession should have tried to clone Miss Mary in some way, because they're going to need somebody like her.
Yeah.
Especially after the pandemic is over. There are children who are in school who don't know what being in school is, because they came in during the pandemic. And by the time the pandemic goes, they'll probably be at an age where school doesn't make sense to them because they did not go to a traditional school system. So we'll need people who are going to be able to work one-on-one with children. So big shout out to Mrs. Mary Nelson. We did recognize her for independence at the honorary celebration.
Yeah,
I'm happy that she was able to get her flowers while she's still alive.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we have shout out to Norma Auguste. Big shout out to Smith Jean Philip. Yes, Smith Jean Philip. Shout out to Camilla Jean. Okay, so happy International Women's Day to everyone.
The Jean sisters.
All
big
the Jean
shout out.
sisters, Camilla, Calixta, Joycelyn.
Yeah.
Shout out to the strongest women I know, Althea and Anella Leon of Barron's Drive. Right, so we want some stories of women who have celebrated you, women that you wish to celebrate, women that you know. Tell us something that this woman has done in your life. Before, you mentioned your mother and that she was your rock, and you mentioned Sister Emma Hippolyte. And Alvina did mention Sister Emma always contributes her strength to her mother, who everybody affectionately remembers her as Mahins. She ran the longest serving store.
Over 70 years, I believe.
70 years. The store has been in Soufriere, serving the people of Soufriere. Every family has a story of going to that shop for something. Everybody can tell a story of going to Mahins shop for something, whether it be cocoa sticks, soft candle,
anything.
Castor oil.
I remember she used to purchase bottles. Those days we had the Coke bottles and the soft drink bottles. So we used to bring it to Mahins for our little, I can't remember.
Was it 25 cents probably?
Maybe about that. But when the 6 weeks vacation, we used to be in Vieux-Fort with our father. And we would fill the back of his car, my brother and myself, that's Marvin. We used to fill the back of his car with that. And when we reach, straight to Mahins and sell those bottles. Coconut, whatever we get, straight to Mahins and sell. Yeah, that was our store. That was our store, yeah.
The heart of Soufriere, the heart of Soufriere right there.
Yes.
She definitely left a big impression on her daughters, on her children. And Emma Hippolyte is carrying on that torch of strength.
Yes, she is, yeah.
Good night to Lucretia Serville. Thanks for joining us. Clea Louisi, thanks for joining us on Let's Connect. We're asking our listeners, our viewers, to send in your stories on our live. Send in your stories of strong women. Let us know who you want to shout out and why. Tell us about the strong women in your life.
My mother had a strong grandmother. Persons who knew her as my yai, and that lady herself was a hustler. I think that's where we took our husband back. That lady used to do everything, sew umbrellas. She used to do candles. In those days, they would take the wax in the church, and she would melt it and do other candles. And
so
she'd go out.
Recycling. She was the ultimate recycling.
Yes. She used to do that. And people who know Maya knew she at First Communion time. I didn't get it, but people before me got it, where they used to have those big candles. They used to call her Sears. My grandmother used to do. My great grandmother used to do that for all parishes around Saint Lucia. And I think the story was one of the veil of a child got burnt, like the candle.
Oh yes, when you used to walk with the candle.
That's right. And that's the way they stop it. But she used to do that all around Saint Lucia. So and she used to do
that practice has died out.
That has died out. That's why after that they never had it again. And she used to do candy, grapefruit candy, lime candy. I could see she doing it. I could actually do it if I want to do it, but it's a lot. Yes, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of heat. So that's where we get that hustling, and that's a strong
grandmother story.
That's right. That's where we get it from. Yeah.
Norma wants to shout out her great grandmother who died when she was young. Okay, Norma.
That's my mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Phaedra Brandis, another strong woman, very strong woman, dedicated to her children.
Miss Brandis.
Because I see it. I see you doing all what you're doing, hustling hard, trying to make the ends meet for your children. And
that's right.
I do hope that they appreciate you. I always say that. I hope they appreciate all what you're doing.
Also, Dora Clement or Gidan, another strong woman I know. Yeah.
So yes, once again, we're asking for stories of strong women. We're asking for shout outs to strong women. We know we're celebrating International Women's Day. That's why we're rocking the purple. I love this day because I have excuse to wear my favorite color. So we're celebrating all women of all forms. We want to big up all women. I want to big up all the women in my family. Big up to my mother. Big up to all my aunts. I have a lot of aunts. If I start naming and I forget one, I will be in trouble. So I am not going to do that. So big up to all my aunts. I have several, and you're all lovely, all wonderful women, all hardworking, all hustlers, all strong. Big up to you all. You know what you're doing and keep doing it. Shout out to my mother, Selwina McKetney, who made an undeniable impression on all my siblings and to the people of Soufriere St. Lucia in areas of education, sports, music, and the arts. That's coming from her daughter, Michelle McKetney. Definitely, Miss Selwina has made a huge impact in music, in education, in sports, in the arts. So big up to Miss Selwina. Big up to all her daughters as well, all strong women in their own right. Big up to you, Michelle McKetney. I know you're doing big things as well. I think I saw you featured in Helen's Daughters, featuring some of our female farmers in St. Lucia. So big up to Helen's Daughters and big up to all the women that they featured. We have some very wonderful women doing big things in St. Lucia in all walks of life. We want to give them a big shout out. Big shout out to our female nurses. Big shout out. I think it's about 60% of all nurses in St. Lucia are female. Yeah. Big up to all our female teachers, female lawyers, female fishers, female farmers, female businesswomen, female entrepreneurs, everybody. I hope you guys are celebrating the month of March as the month of the woman. March 8th is International Women's Day. Yes.
I'd like to shout out or big up my sisters. Charlene Chadri from Reunion Choiseul, my sister Nadine in the US. Also, I have my sister Judy August. Everybody know Miss Judy?
Yes.
Yes, strong woman also. Ereline Lamontagne, my sister. Big up to her, strong woman, strong businesswoman. Yeah.
I want to big up my sister as well, Sentine Joseph. She is out of St. Lucia at the moment, but she's definitely doing big things on her own, in her own right. Shout out to you. I love my sister. She's gonna, if she comes back to St. Lucia, she's gonna be doing big things as well. All right, we have shout out to Mrs. Deborah Fassois, Miss Alison Paul, and Miss Yulina Charles coming from Michelle McKetney. Shout out to Charlene coming from Norma O'Geese. Shout out to Wilina Philip. Shout out to Miss Wilma Philip, who helped nurture and raise many children in Soufriere and environs, coming from Wilma Andrew. Shout out to my aunt Cecilia Prosper for raising her disabled daughter for 41 years, coming from Wilma Prosper.
Very strong person, Cecilia Prosper.
Big shout out to you guys. Welcome to the program, Tamika Hippolyte. Thanks for joining us on Let's Connect on 88.5 Soufriere FM. We have a shout out to everyone in St. Lucia coming from Brenda Emmanuel of Brooklyn. All right, so big up to all the ladies. We only have a few more minutes left, so send in all your last minute shout outs. It has been a wonderful, wonderful International Women's Day. We started out with a 6:30 a.m. mass at Our Lady of the Assumption Church in Soufriere, and then we had a SLPWO breakfast, and all our ladies were decked out in their purple and green in support of women. And like I said, if you wore orange today, in support of the domestic violence bill, thank you so very much. It was passed through Parliament and it will be going to the Senate next. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that this bill is going to make it through. It's going to be very important for all persons in St. Lucia, men, women, and children alike. Big up to all our listeners on 88.5 radio, 88.5 Facebook, and YouTube, where we're live every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. We only have a couple minutes left, so send in all your requests for shout outs. It has been a wonderful night. I want to thank once again Sister Alvina Reynolds for joining us with her National Women's Address. And thank you as well to Miss Teresa Prosper for joining me on Let's Connect this evening. It was definitely wonderful to have you. And
Thank you.
remind Camille of my cake, please.
I will.
I want my cake, Camille.
This month is a month. That whole month she's celebrating.
I agree. I think like if I had enough purple clothes, I'd wear purple and green every day to support women, because women are wonderful creatures. And we really don't give ourselves enough credit for how strong we are.
Yeah.
We really don't. And I want to tell all those listening who feel that they're not strong enough, let me tell you, you're strong enough. You are strong enough. You are a woman. As long as you're a woman, you have the strength. You don't even know where it's coming from, but you have it.
Yes.
You have that strength. And we have our women's officer in Soufriere. We have persons who we can get you in touch with. We have contacts with Catherine Seeley, who is with Raise Your Voice. We have Sister Alvina Reynolds, who is the national women's officer. We have contact with Lisa Johari, who is the Commonwealth gender champion. So we have persons in St. Lucia who are able to help, who are willing to help, who we can reach out to on your behalf. If you need help, please ask for it. Do not be prideful. There is help out there. Okay? So once again, happy International Women's Day. Shout out to Buffer and to Nadine from Norma Ogis.
Thank you,
Final
Nama.
shout out.
Thank you, Nama.
So we're going to sign off now. So once again, keep in mind, together we can transform Soufriere for Seja. Until our next show on Let's Connect next week Tuesday. Join us at 5:30 p.m. It's gonna be great. I promise.